Did the silence have a sound? Mateo Alvarez suspected it did. In his small apartment perched above a narrow cobblestone street in the heart of Andalusia, the silence was a thick, muffling blanket, heavier than the summer heat that pressed against the closed shutters. It was woven from the absence of Isabella's laughter, the stillness of dust motes dancing in the stray sunbeam, the dull thud of his own solitary footsteps on the cool tile floor. 72 years. Had they all led to this quiet room, this waiting? Waiting for what? He wasn't sure anymore. Lunchtime, perhaps, or the evening news, droning statistics that felt worlds away. He traced the rim of his coffee cup, the ceramic cool beneath his slightly stiff fingers. Outside, the town stirred. The distant clatter of cafe chairs being set out on the plaza, the faint, rhythmic cry of the vegetable vendor making his rounds. Tomates! Pimientos frescos! Sounds that once formed the vibrant tapestry of his life, now just muted background noise filtering through the wood slats. His eyes drifted, as they often did, to the corner where it leaned against the whitewashed wall, the guitar case. Dark, scuffed leather, brass latches dulled with time. Inside lay the ghost of the man he used to be, the flamenco guitarist whose duende, they used to say, could set the air alight. Now just wood and wire, silenced like the rest of his world since Isabella had gone 3 years ago. Too many memories trapped in its curved body, too much pain echoing in the silence where her palmas, her rhythmic clapping should have been. The phone shrilled, startling him. He let it ring twice more before picking it up, bracing himself. Dígame. Papa? It's Javier. His son's voice, clear and distant from Barcelona. Always the same concerned tone, edged with something Mateo interpreted as pity. Just checking in. How are you feeling today? Fine, Mateo clipped, the standard answer. Did you eat a proper breakfast? Remember what Dr. Ramirez said about protein? Yes. Eggs. A small lie. It had been toast and coffee, easier than arguing. And you're remembering your pills? Javier, I'm 72, not senile. The irritation flared, quick and hot. I know, Papa, I just worry. Maybe we should look into that meal delivery service again, just to make things easier. Easier for whom? Mateo thought bitterly. I manage perfectly well. The market is close. He didn't add that his trips were brief, functional, avoiding conversation beyond necessary pleasantries. All right. Just take it easy, okay? Don't overdo it. The familiar sign-off. Don't overdo what? Sitting? Breathing? Adios, Javier. He hung up before his son could reply, the silence rushing back in, heavier than before. He pushed himself up from the chair, his joints protesting mildly. Time for the market trip. The small ritual that punctuated the emptiness. He grabbed his worn canvas bag, the key, and stepped out into the blinding Andalusian light, blinking against the sudden assault of the world. The market buzzed with a life that felt alien to him. The sharp tang of olives, the sweet perfume of ripe melons, the chatter and laughter, it washed over him, leaving him untouched on his island of quiet grief. He bought tomatoes, onions, a piece of fish, his exchanges minimal, his gaze averted. He saw Ricardo, another widower, lingering near the cheese stall, looking as adrift as Mateo felt. A brief nod passed between them, an acknowledgement of shared solitude, nothing more. Back in the apartment, the preparation of lunch was a mechanical process. Chop, saute, simmer. He ate alone at the small kitchen table, the food tasting of habit rather than flavour. Afterwards, the obligatory siesta, though sleep rarely came easily. He lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the town quieten outside as the afternoon heat intensified. It was during this lull that the second piece of news arrived, less disruptive than a phone call, more insidious. A letter slipped under the door. Not junk mail. It bore the municipal crest. He picked it up, slit it open with a thumbnail. It concerned his granddaughter, Sophia, Javier's daughter, coming for a visit, a long visit. A whole month before she started university in Madrid. Mateo sank onto the hallway chair. A month, a 19-year-old girl in his quiet sanctuary. He felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him, stronger than the afternoon heat. Later that week, driven by a vague restlessness he couldn't quell, Mateo found himself walking towards the Plaza Mayor. He needed something. A change of scenery, perhaps. He skirted the main square, avoiding the cheerful clatter of the outdoor cafes, and turned down a side street towards the Centro Civico, the community centre, a place he hadn't set foot in for years, not since Isabella used to drag him to the occasional local history lecture. He wasn't sure why he was going now. Maybe just to pay the small annual membership fee he inexplicably kept current. Force of habit. The centre felt tired. Faded posters curled at the edges. The bulletin board was sparse. He found Elena, the manager, a woman whose determined energy always seemed slightly frayed around the edges, talking animatedly near the entrance. Ricardo was there, looking glum, along with two other elderly women Matteo vaguely recognized. "Drastic cuts," Elena was saying, her voice tight with frustration. "They say the usage numbers don't justify the budget. If we can't demonstrate significant community engagement, prove our value, closure is a real possibility within 6 months." Ricardo sighed heavily. "Where will we go then, Elena? For coffee? For Senora Garcia's knitting group?" Elena wrung her hands. "I don't know, Ricardo. We have to fight. Show them this place matters." Matteo lingered by the doorway, unnoticed. Closure. Another ending. Another space shrinking. He felt a flicker of something. Annoyance? Indifference? He couldn't quite place it. It wasn't his problem. He turned to leave, paid his small fee at the counter without comment, and retreated back to the familiar silence of his apartment. A granddaughter arriving. The local centre threatening to disappear. The world seemed determined to intrude. He pulled the shutters tighter against the afternoon sun. Sophia arrived like a contained whirlwind. Bright pink suitcase, oversized sunglasses perched on her head, a smartphone seemingly glued to her hand. The small apartment instantly felt smaller, cluttered with her youthful energy and unfamiliar belongings. Her music, strange, thumping rhythms, pulsed softly from her earbuds. Her chatter filled the spaces Matteo had grown accustomed to leaving silent. "Abuelo, the town is so beautiful, even hotter than I expected." She hugged him quickly, a scent of floral perfume and sunshine clinging to her. He endured it stiffly. The first few days were an exercise in awkward coexistence. Sophia explored the town during the day while Matteo kept to his routine. Meals were eaten together, punctuated by Sophia's attempts at conversation and Matteo's monosyllabic replies. He found her constant phone usage irritating, the endless scrolling and tapping a language he didn't understand. "Who are you always talking to?" he grumbled one evening, watching her thumbs fly across the screen. "Just friends, Abuelo, sending pictures of the plaza, and Mama and Papa, of course." She looked up, her expression open. "You know, Papa worries about you being alone." "Your father worries too much," Matteo muttered. "Maybe," Sophia conceded, "but it's hard for him being so far away. He feels helpless." She hesitated. "He said you don't like video calls," Matteo scoffed. "Those things confusing." "It's easy. Look." Before he could protest, she had his phone, the simple, outdated model Javier insisted he carry, and was comparing it to hers. "Okay, yours can't do video, but maybe it's time for an upgrade? Just a basic smartphone. Then you could see Papa when you talk. It would make him so happy." He started to refuse, the familiar resistance rising, but something in her earnest expression stopped him. The thought of seeing Javier's face, not just hearing the disembodied, worried voice, it held a sliver of appeal he wouldn't admit. "They are too complicated," he said, weakening. "I'll teach you. It'll be fun." And so began the lessons. Sophia, patient and surprisingly methodical, guided him through the basics. Swiping, tapping, finding contacts. His fingers felt thick and clumsy on the smooth glass surface of the cheap smartphone she insisted on buying him. "My treat, Abuelo." He grumbled about tiny icons and confusing menus, but Sophia persisted, celebrating small victories. "You opened WhatsApp! Bravo!" The first video call with Javier was awkward. Matteo stared stiffly at his son's face on the small screen, unsure where to look. Javier looked older, lines of stress around his eyes. Seeing him, really seeing him, softened something in Matteo. "You look tired, hijo," he said gruffly. Javier blinked, surprised. "Just busy, Papa. It's really good to see you." A genuine warmth entered his voice. "Sophia, thank you for setting this up." "De nada, Papa," Sophia beamed. It wasn't a profound change, but it was a crack, a tiny fissure in the wall of Matteo's isolation. He found himself looking forward to the calls, grudgingly admitting Sophia had been right. He even started experimenting, sending Sophia blurry photos of his lunch, receiving strings of colourful emojis in return. He didn't understand half of them, but they felt like connection. Sophia, meanwhile, had discovered the Centro Civico and its plight. "Abuelo, it's terrible. Elena is trying so hard, but they have no money. They need activities, reasons for people to come." She had thrown herself into the cause with youthful idealism. "We have to help." "It's not our problem, Sophia," Matteo repeated, though with less conviction this time. "But it is. It's Ricardo's problem, and Senora Garcia's. It's the town's problem." She looked at him pleadingly. "Come with me tomorrow? Elena is having a meeting about ideas." He wanted to say no, but Sophia's hopeful gaze, combined with a nagging image of Ricardo's slumped shoulders, made refusal feel churlish. "Fine," he sighed, "but just to listen." The meeting was sparsely attended. Elena outlined the dire financial situation again. Ideas were floated, a bake sale, a raffle, well-meaning but small-scale. Matteo listened silently, observing the mix of desperation and resignation in the room. Sophia, undeterred, suggested an open day, showcasing all the centre's activities, inviting the whole town, asking for donations. "A showcase," Elena mused. "We have the knitting group, the card players, the gentle exercise class. And music," Sophia added brightly, turning to Matteo. "Abuelo used to be a famous flamenco guitarist. He could play." The air froze. All eyes turned to Matteo. He felt his face flush, a familiar mix of pride and sharp pain twisting inside him. "No," he said, his voice harsher than intended. "Absolutely not. That part of my life is over." He stood abruptly. "I'm leaving." He walked out, ignoring Sophia's crestfallen face and Elena's surprised look. The ghost in the guitar case stirred angrily. He avoided Sophia for the rest of the day, retreating into his silence. But the silence felt different now, less empty, more charged with unspoken things. Later that evening, sorting through some old papers, Sophia found them. A small stack of old vinyl records. Flamenco, his recordings. She put one on the ancient turntable he never used. The first notes, scratchy and evocative, filled the room. Soleá, deep, mournful chords. His younger self poured out of the speakers, passionate, precise, full of fire. Isabella's favourite. He could almost hear her soft olays, feel her hand on his arm. The pain was sharp, a physical ache in his chest. He moved to turn it off, but Sophia gently stopped him. "It's beautiful, Abuelo," she whispered. "Don't silence it." He stood there, rigid, letting the music wash over him, a tide of memory and loss. When it finished, Sophia didn't push. She simply went to the corner and gently lifted the guitar case, laying it flat. She unlatched it. The guitar lay nestled in its worn velvet lining, gleaming dully under the lamplight. Conde Hermanos, his lifelong partner. "Just hold it, Abuelo," Sophia said softly. "Just feel it again." He stared at it, his hands clenched at his sides. Touching it felt like betrayal, like reopening a wound he had carefully allowed to scar over. But Sophia waited patiently. Slowly, hesitantly, he reached out. His fingers, stiff and clumsy now, brushed against the smooth, cool wood of the neck. He lifted it. It felt heavier than he remembered, yet strangely familiar. An extension of himself, long dormant. He didn't play. He just held it, the silence in the room now filled with the weight of unspoken history and the faint, lingering scent of old wood and rosin. The failed open day meeting and Matteo's abrupt refusal hung in the air between him and Sophia. He retreated slightly, becoming quieter again, but the absolute wall was gone. He found himself accompanying Sophia on her short walks more often, initially just to escape the apartment's charged atmosphere. He started noticing things he hadn't paid attention to in years, the intricate ironwork on a balcony, the scent of jasmine spilling over a garden wall, the way the light changed on the whitewashed buildings as the sun moved across the sky. His town. It was still here, even if he had withdrawn from it. He continued the gentle stretching class at the Centro Civico, partly to appease Sophia, partly because Ricardo was always there, offering a silent companionship that required no effort. He saw Ricardo struggling with one of the centre's ancient computers, trying to follow Elena's instructions on how to send an email. The frustration on Ricardo's face mirrored his own feelings about the smartphone. "You're holding the mouse like it's going to bite you, hombre," Matteo grumbled, stepping closer. "Loosen your grip. Like this." He demonstrated, his own awkwardness with technology momentarily forgotten in the simple act of offering advice. Ricardo looked up, surprised. "Gracias, Matteo." He tried again, his movements less tense. "It's this, new world. Sometimes I feel like a ghost watching it." "Speak for yourself, Phantasma," Matteo retorted, but without his usual bite. A small smile flickered on Ricardo's face. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the cursor blink on the screen, a tentative bridge built on shared obsolescence. Meanwhile, Sophia hadn't given up on the open day. She buzzed around Elena, offering help, designing simple flyers on her laptop. Elena, buoyed by Sophia's energy, decided to push ahead, setting a date for 2 weeks hence. The goal was modest: raise awareness, gather some donations, show the council the centre was still alive. One afternoon, finding himself alone in the apartment, Matteo felt an irresistible pull towards the guitar case. He opened it again. This time he lifted the instrument and sat down, settling it on his lap. His fingers found the strings. He tried a simple chord, a basic C major. The sound was dull, muted by stiff joints and softened calluses. His left hand struggled to form the shape cleanly. His right hand felt clumsy executing a simple strum. Frustration pricked at him. It was useless. He was too old, too out of practice. The duende was gone, replaced by arthritis and apathy. He almost put it back, but then he remembered the sound from the record player, the ghost of his younger self. He tried again, a simple scale, slow, deliberate. Focusing on each note, the pressure of finger on fret, the vibration of the string. An ache started in his knuckles, a dull throb in his wrist. But beneath the discomfort, there was something else, a flicker. The muscle memory, buried deep, stirred. He played for perhaps 10 minutes, simple exercises, clumsy fragments of old melodies. When he finally stopped, his hands hurt, but his mind felt clearer, less silent. He started practicing secretly, short sessions when Sophia was out. He didn't aim for his former virtuosity. He aimed for clarity, for feeling. He downloaded a simple tuning app onto the smartphone, a small victory in itself, and meticulously tuned the strings each time. Some days were better than others. Some days the frustration won, but he kept picking it up. Javier called. Sophia, unaware of the secret practice sessions, but thrilled by Matteo's generally improved mood and participation in walks in the centre, had given him an enthusiastic update. "Papa, Sophia tells me you're out and about quite a lot, even going to exercise classes." Javier sounded pleased, but the underlying note of caution was still there. "That's wonderful, but please don't overdo it. Remember your blood pressure." Something snapped in Matteo, not anger, but a quiet assertion. "I am fine, Javier," he said, his voice steady. "Better than fine. I am actually enjoying doing something, walking, seeing people. It's good." There was a pause on the other end. "Oh, okay, Papa. That's really good to hear." The surprise in his son's voice was validation. Matteo felt a quiet surge of satisfaction. He wasn't just waiting anymore. The day of the Centro Civico Open Day arrived, bathed in the relentless Andalusian sun. The atmosphere in the centre's small courtyard was hopeful but subdued. Elena rushed around, organising tables displaying knitting, slightly lopsided pottery from a defunct class, and information leaflets. Ricardo manned a table selling raffle tickets with quiet dignity. Sophia served lukewarm lemonade from a large plastic dispenser. Turnout was modest. Neighbours drifted in, bought a raffle ticket, had some lemonade, chatted politely, and drifted out again. The planned activities, a short talk by Elena, a demonstration by the card players, were met with polite applause but little real enthusiasm. Donations in the glass jar near the entrance were sparse. Matteo watched from the sidelines, leaning against a pillar, his guitar case resting unseen at his feet. He saw the hope drain from Elena's face, replaced by a weary resignation. Sophia, sensing the flagging energy, stepped onto the small, makeshift platform. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice clear and earnest. "This centre, it's more than just a building. It's where Senora Garcia teaches children to knit, passing on traditions. It's where Ricardo meets his friends for dominoes. It's where people come so they aren't alone." She glanced towards Matteo. "It's a place for connection, for community. We can't let it disappear." Her words hung in the air. Then Ricardo spoke, his voice unexpectedly strong. "I remember, years ago, Matteo Alvarez used to play flamenco here sometimes, just him and his guitar, when the music still had." He looked directly at Matteo. "We need some of that fire now, Matteo." Silence, every head turned towards him. Matteo felt trapped, exposed. The familiar fear surged, fear of failure, of judgment, of dredging up the pain. His hands felt clammy, his knuckles ached preemptively. He saw Elena's pleading eyes, Sophia's hopeful gaze, Ricardo's quiet challenge. He thought of the silent apartment, the waiting. He thought of the faint flicker he felt when his fingers found the strings again. Was it enough? Could he still connect? He took a breath. Then another. Slowly, deliberately, he bent down and picked up the guitar case. He walked towards the platform, the muffled sounds of the courtyard fading into a dull roar in his ears. He opened the case, lifted the guitar. It felt both heavy and light in his hands. He sat on the offered stool, adjusting the instrument on his lap. Silence stretched, thick with expectation. His first touch on the strings was hesitant, a fumbled chord that buzzed imperfectly. He closed his eyes for a second, shutting out the faces, searching for the quiet center within himself. He found Isabella's face in the darkness, not smiling, just watching, waiting. He took another breath and began again. He started with a solea, the same piece Sophia had played on the record player. Simple chords, played slowly, letting the melancholy resonance hang in the hot air. He wasn't trying to impress. He was trying to speak. The notes were rougher than they once were, the transitions less fluid, but the emotion was raw, undisguised. Grief, loss, the weight of silent years, it poured out through the trembling strings. He felt tears prickling behind his eyelids, but kept playing, letting the music carry the burden. The small crowd stilled, drawn into the intimate confession. He could feel their attention, not critical but empathetic. He finished the solea and paused, the final chord fading into the courtyard's sudden hush. Then, gathering himself, he shifted tempo. A simple allegria, a rhythm of defiance, of resilience. His fingers moved more confidently now, finding familiar patterns. A touch of the old flair returned, a percussive tap on the guitar body, a slightly faster run. It wasn't the dazzling virtuosity of his youth, but it was alive. It had duende, not the fire of passion, perhaps, but the warm, steady flame of endurance. Hope, tentative but real, resonated in the music. When he finished, the silence held for a beat, then broke into warm, genuine applause. Someone near the back shouted a heartfelt "Olé!" Elena's eyes were shining with tears. Ricardo was smiling broadly. People started moving towards the donation jar, pulling out wallets, dropping in bills and coins with newfound purpose. Matteo felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him, but beneath it, something else stirred, a quiet, profound sense of connection. He had spoken, and they had listened. A week later, the Centro Civico hummed with a different energy. The open day hadn't magically solved the funding crisis, but it had been a catalyst. Donations were counted, exceeding modest expectations. More importantly, people were talking, volunteering. Elena, armed with renewed community support and a petition Sophia helped organize online, had secured a meeting with the town council. The threat hadn't vanished, but there was a path forward, a fighting chance. Matteo's routine had shifted subtly but significantly. He still cherished his quiet mornings, but the silence felt less oppressive. He visited the centre most afternoons, not just for the stretching class, but for coffee with Ricardo. Their conversations were still quiet, but now held the comfortable rhythm of burgeoning friendship. He'd even reluctantly agreed, after much persuasion from Elena and Sophia, to host informal guitar chats once a week. Not lessons, he insisted gruffly, just talking about the music, maybe playing a little. The first session was surprisingly well attended. Sophia's month-long visit drew to a close. Her pink suitcase reappeared, looking slightly less alien in the apartment now. Their farewell at the small-town bus station was warm, laced with an understanding that hadn't existed weeks before. "Call me on the video, Abuelo, okay?" she said, hugging him tightly. "Show me how the guitar chats are going." "I will," Matteo promised. He watched the bus pull away, a pang of sadness mixed with gratitude. She had come in like a whirlwind and swept away some of the dust that had settled on his life. That evening, Javier called. The usual opening questions were there, but the tone was different. Less worry, more genuine interest. "Sophia told me you played guitar at the centre, Papa. That's amazing." "It was nothing," Matteo deflected, but without the old defensiveness. "No, it sounds like it was something," Javier insisted gently. "I'm glad. I'm really glad you're finding things you enjoy again." Later, Matteo sat by his window as the evening light softened the edges of the town. The guitar rested on his lap. He picked out a simple flamenco melody, his fingers moving with increasing familiarity, though still far from perfect. He hit a wrong note, winced slightly, then a faint smile touched his lips. He corrected the fingering and played the phrase again. The notes floated out into the cooling air, mingling with the distant sounds of evening life, laughter from a nearby tapas bar, the chime of the church bell. He wasn't young again. The aches were still there, the grief for Isabella a quiet undertone to his days. But he was present, engaged, connected. The silence within him was no longer empty. It held the echo of music, the warmth of connection, the quiet hum of a life being lived, not just endured. The Andalusian sun dipped below the rooftops, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet, and Mateo Alvarez kept playing.